I entered a painting competition as an amateur with only 4 paints. It didn't go well. This week I wanted to talk about how I've entered the Travelling Man superbrushbowl competition and talk about some of the challenges I've seen. Yeah, it's been really, really difficult. So, yeah, let's get into that. Start with some footage of me painting, and we're going to talk about it. Yeah. Before we get into the painting, I just wanted to talk about the paints I was using. So, the challenge is you get 4 paints, a basic material, and your mini, and you can add black and white. So, black I've already got is my... I'll try and work this out. I have to cut this short. Vallejo black, and I got the Pro Grell titanium white. And then I was given paint number 1, War Paint Fanatic, a cat skin. Then we've got AK Fluo Orange, AK Lizard Green, weirdly, the most useful of all, Thousand Suns Blue. So yeah, so we started with a primed mini black, and I'd worked out I could get a base coat of brown by mixing the Fluo Orange and a lot of black, which gave me a really nice reddy earthy brown to start with. And I honestly forgot to record, so what you're seeing by here, I've used the Thousand Suns Blue mixed with a lot of black to base coat the metal. So anything metal is going to be the Thousand Suns Blue, and what I'm working on by here is building up the highlights. So I started off by blocking out as much of the highlights as possible, and I'm not worried about where they're going to be, exactly how finite they're going to be. And what you're seeing here, I've started now to use a intermediate colour, washed, thin quite down to a wash material sort of state, to start to blend those 2 colour blocks in. So the lighter colour, I'm just trying to establish where my highlights are going to be, and then sort of work it back into the 2. And then you can see by here, it's all about going back and forward with light, dark, finding it until you get a good balance for me. So yeah, I've gone back to a bit of light by here, edge highlighting the brightest of the colours, just trying to get a good contrast between the dark and the bright. I've gone for a bit of a not so clean style, but just a bit of a sort of a rough and ready highlight kind of thing. I hope that makes sense to someone. So while it was dark, I took a mental note of where the highest lights were, so highest amount of colour was, and then sort of use that as a reference point to build my highlight colour up to, with a bit of trickery here and there. And one of the things I've really struggled with then is how to bring this brown into a highlight colour. So what I'm trying by here is to use a bit of my dark brown I've mixed with a bit of a gat skin mixed in, and I found it didn't really blend well with what I already had there. It was too creamy, if that makes sense. So you'll see me a couple of times in this video now. I'm going to work on this brown a lot, where I'm taking it up, bringing it back up again, trying a different approach for everything. I think at the end of the video you'll see where I find a good happy ground to start then pushing. I probably will end up working on this after the video is finished. So yeah, again, I'm using a dark wash to bring things back in, sort of to blend the edges in, as you can see, that the brown isn't very good, and I'm not happy with it at this point. But one of the things I've decided, leave the brown alone for a little bit, move on to something else. I've given the horns a base coat, and I'm now starting to highlight the straps. The straps are the agate skin with a bit of green in, actually, I think, and I give this the muted kind of leathery colour that give a bit of a difference in colour to the skin. And I'm just working on then putting some white into that colour to bring up a bit of an edge highlight. And as always, I'm not too worried about making mistakes because I can always come back in. I've got a wet palette under my brush, so all my colours are still active while I'm working. I can come back in and touch things up. And right now I'm just trying to pick out some of the highest points just to give that leather a bit of character to it. And this is not being a focal point. I'm trying not to put too much emphasis on it so it doesn't distract from the armour. And while I've got that highlight colour out, the underside has got like leather forearm grips, so I'm just touching them up a little bit. And the horns are a mix of fluoro orange and agate skin. That fluoro orange is a really hard one to cover with, so I've had 4 or 5 coats to get this to this stage, and then it's just working up the highlights then. And then underneath I've put a bit of the black underneath to give it a bit of shade colour. And you can see here I've gone, again, I go quite heavy on the highlight, build up the saturation and the area of coverage, and work it back and blend it in. And here we go, I've got another attempt at highlighting this bum. The camera's struggling to focus on this. I do apologise. And right now I'm pretty happy with the skin colour at this point, but I'm just trying to pick out raised surfaces, trying to bring them up a little bit more, sort of trying to feel my way into what's going to work for this. And there we are, that's where I am at the moment. I'd already done the cloak before today. The base I've now flocked. And that's it really. So here he is on the face cam with a bit of a different light. I may carry on working on that skin colour, take it up a little bit more. And the one thing I want to do is, for this flocked base, I'm going to leather basing material dry to the glue, brush off as much as I can, potentially put another layer on because it's quite clumpy, and then I'm going to put a little white stripe on it and rim the base with brown. I like brown, it makes a lot of minis look. I just grab this. Brown on the base just looks nice and grown up, in my opinion. Yeah, so that is what we've done painting wise this week. It's been a bit of a quiet week hobby wise. This next week is going to be finishing that guy off, and we are in the final for the tournament, for the Yu-Gi-Oh tournament. I'm still undecided on what deck I'm going to run. Fire King won the YCS in Birmingham, and part of me is wondering, do I try and run that? I've never used it before, but I have got a full package there ready to put in, and we've started a new project. I've been lucky enough to get my hands on some 1/100th. What were they from? Can't remember who they made them. If I remember, I'll put it in the link below. But I got a bit cocky. A 1/35th unicorn, based on a 1/100 model. So the Fenix we were working on before, I haven't done no more on that, and the 1/35th next to it. Yeah, it's going to be a bit of a back burner, something to do in the day when I'm bored. So yeah, as always, diolch, da boch, a nos da.